Hello, I'm Pascal. I'm currently ramping up on Unreal and UMG, and I wanted to share what I learned when using Unreal, especially about font management today. So this video is not about the text widget and the localization pipeline, but I will need to use those to showcase the fonts. I will make another video about text and another video about the localization part of this because it's interesting and I like that very much. It's one of my specialty. So without further ado, this is a 3D third-person template project, and I also have a bunch of fonts here. I have a fancy-looking font called Nordeco. I have a Cyrillic version of it. I have an Arabic Noto. Noto is the Google font, and a normal Noto font, Japanese Noto font, and a Korean Noto font again. A lot of them. I'm not going to use all of them, but the more the merrier. So the TTFs are kind of big here. I will not talk about the memory management because I have no clue how it works yet. I will, if you're interested, I will investigate when the TTF gets loaded. From what I can see, they are always loaded, which is bad. But then there is no delay when the text gets displayed. Anyway, let's start by doing the project here. I like my columns. Oh yes, okay, good. And now I'm just gonna create a UI folder, and I'm gonna create just a blueprint to show. But at least I need to have something to display the font. So UI widget blueprint. It's gonna be HUD, and it's a test panel. So something very simple, a canvas and a vertical box. I need two text, one for title, one for the content, and let's center it and make it a normal size, and title, one line, content will fill. Oh, while we're here, I'm just gonna add a little line because I like this much better. It looks much better with the line. So 2 pixels, nice. And yeah, I'm gonna add a background too. I'm sorry, I just like the blur background. It's fun, it's very easy to do, and I just like the way it. So in a blur background, and add some, make it centered, and make it also 450, some blurriness to it, and some padding because it's too close to the edge. This is not necessary for font, but I'm just showing how I work with UMG. Maybe you'll discover something good about it. So now I have a good setup. I like this. It's just going to showcase what we want. I have a title and a content. If you go in here, I'm only going to talk about font today, so font and typeface. So it's using Roboto and Bold. They are there. If you locate them in the project, you will see that they are in the engine folder here, in engine content and engine font. And if you see these fonts, you will see that there's a Roboto here, and if you open it, you see that we have regular bold, italic, light, and a fallback font to draw it. We're going to talk about it later. What I like is the text here. I'm going to just copy this one. So regular, bold, italic, bold, italic, and light. If you go back in here, you will see that it's exactly the choices that you have here. Just as a refresher. So for now, I'm just going to use this text, and I'm going to have the title being Brown Fox. Quick Brown Fox. Yeah, quick Brown Fox. And that's good. That what's not good is that this text is not wrapping. Forgot about this. So the auto wrap is here, and does it about ellipsis? Let's enable ellipsis just in case. It's there, right? Somewhere around. There's something about the text and the bounding volume. Oh yeah, in advance of clipping, you can choose ellipsis. A clip is totally wrong. If you clip text, you will be flagged by the localization team. They won't like it. So at least use ellipsis. They won't like ellipsis either, but at least it's not like a critical issue. So it's better to flag ellipsis now. Okay, so I have two texts here. We're gonna localize. So I'm doing all of this as a big setup. Then we will talk about the font. So just another quick tutorial on localization. There's a tool called the localization dashboard. It was already open for me. In the localization dashboard, what it does, it's pretty convenient. It goes through all the possible text that it can localize and just outputs it for you. And then it's your job to, well, translate it. But you need to gather, it needs to find some matches. So right now I did create a UI folder with my widget blueprint in there. The idea will be that it's able to detect these two texts. So I need to check this box and I need to have an include. For now, I'm just going to use my UI folder, content UI that I created. There's a widget blueprint there, so it should be fine. And with this, I will start adding new culture. Today, I'm planning on supporting several languages. So let's start with the very simple efix language that I know, French, and French from France, I suppose. And then let's get more fancier. Russian. Russian will use a Cyrillic alphabet, but it's still manageable. Like it's not too fancy. Let's say Russia. Now a bit more fancy. We're gonna go more in Asia. So we're gonna add the Korean, Japanese, and traditional Chinese and simplified Chinese. This is important because these ones will force us to use the advanced feature of the font. So I will add Japanese also. Japanese and Chinese, traditional and Chinese. Simplified. Just as a reminder, Chinese simplified is mainland China. Chinese traditional is basically the other countries. Chinese Taipei or Taiwan, if it gets too political here. So my language that my set text are in English. It turned to French because it's the first one I added. But make sure that this is English. This is the base language most of your text are in. So now it's gonna go through all the possible place where it's set to localize. Just as a reminder, when you text here, you have this little flag, there's localize here. So it's gonna be able to know, oh, there's a text and it localize. I would like it better if it was in a string table. It's easier to track, but now we're gonna rely on this system doing it automatically. So I'm gonna do a gather text. It should detect the two words. And we'll just translate it in all the languages that I've added there. So it's not showing yet. Well, there's 12. Not sure where 12 comes from, but at least it's more than 0, which is a good news. So now I have this. I need to click this little button. It will open a new window in which I can translate. So let's start with this. So actually, I'm not a big fan of this because I need to do it manually on all of them. So what I could do now, it's a big parenthesis for the setup, but I will go and use what I do normally is a Google Sheet, and with the Google Translate macro, which I don't remember exactly now, but I will have to remember it soon because I'm recording. So this, and I have quick brown, and I have this over the dog thing, and now en fr are you I know this one is China, it's Hans with the S, one for T for traditional. I assume it's gonna be GP for this and KR. Anyway, we're gonna test this soon if it works. So there's a macro in Google Sheet that is pretty convenient. You can Google Translate right away your things, and you can just say from English, it's always English, to the code, the region code that you have. And it's good news that it actually works here. So for this one, C4 remains a C, so I'm gonna add a little symbol there. And for this one, it's the 3 that doesn't change, right? So I'm gonna add that there. And then magic, I hope. Okay, then the error is just that I didn't, this is Japanese. Oh yeah, okay, and this was KO. Nice, okay, good. So I had French here, so I'm gonna go just swap this and go doubles like this, so it's gonna help me. So did I gain time here? I am not sure. I'm not sure. But let's say that I hope it was interesting for you to learn about this setup here. So I'm gonna go traditional Chinese now. Oh, I forgot to add Arabic, by the way. I will have to add Arabic, it's very important. So this is simplified Chinese. So it is the title. This is this. This is that. I save. Before I forget, I'm gonna add Arabic. And let's use Arabic Morocco, because why not? Huh? And does it work right away? Let's see if I click it. Nope. Let's compile everything that I did and gather the text again. So I did 2 languages only. I'm sorry it takes a long time, but I think it's good to be able to test your font as quickly as possible at the beginning of a production before you hit a wall and it's too late. Well, it's not too late, it's just that the more words that got inputted in and changing a font during a production, and the font is slightly bigger and your layout can blow up, it's just a good idea in general to get everything set up properly for everyone. And you can always detect in advance that the text will be too large in German and fix it. And it happens, by the way, text being too large. I'm not sure if Unreal supports the ability of having worst text. That would be like always take the largest text from the list. I didn't see that. So this is Arabic, and Arabic is AR. And I gotta add this one, and I got Arabic here. It is the right align. I will see soon. It seems to be left align. That's bad, Google. That's bad. You shouldn't do that. So where am I now? More Arabic Morocco. Yes. Okay. Let's see. Oh, this is right align in Unreal. Good job, Unreal. You made it right align. That's good. So let's save this one. And I did this one, traditional. This is easier when it's left aligned. French, I did it. Japanese. It looks. Can I do this? Can I choose both of them and paste? Oh my god! It's actually like Excel. I didn't know that. Okay, it's pretty cool now. So I can do this. Can I do this? Paste. Choose both. Control C and paste. Yeah, that doesn't work here. That value. That's weird. And can I, anyway, it worked. I can actually paste the rows. That's a pretty nice thing to do there. Thank you again, Unreal. That's very nice. So Korea. So now I can do this. Bam, and then bam, and save. Oh man, that just feels so much better. And okay, can I do Control D this? Just out of curiosity, why couldn't I copy this? To complete it, if I go and Shift and Control C and paste. Oh, I'm able to copy this. Okay. Okay, well, PO are cool, but it would have been cool to have CSV. And not only just CSV, but just the full table of all the languages. If you know, if this thing exists, let me know, but so far it is the best way. And being able to copy multiple rows is actually much easier now. I could actually just have a lot more text, copy all of it into this Google Sheet, and then paste them all in one big columns. Well, for now, we have this. I can actually compile a text for everyone. Everyone should have 12. I'm not sure if 12 where it comes from, but yeah, no, I have no clue where 12 comes from. Now, does it work? I compile it. It still says French and look at that, perfect localization. So now I can go back here and I will have the choices now. And one thing that you will realize, it doesn't work because I need to restart Unreal. This button will not work. So this is what I'm going to do now. Bear with me. It shouldn't take too long. I'm going to restart it now. So we're back. I restarted Unreal, and now I should be able to click this button. And now, as you can see, this is using Roboto font, the one that we have set up, which has probably a good setup. It's falling back into Droid. And now I can actually change the language as Arabic. Unfortunately, Roboto doesn't support Arabic. It switched to right align, which is cool. But I will not talk about this for now. I wonder what actually made it, because it's a big topic here. When I switch from traditional to simplified, you can see that there are slight differences. We will talk about this later. But Russian is Cyrillic. It looks good, except for the ellipsis, which is not working. Japanese, and we got French. French has no accent, but none of these words need an accent. Let's switch back to a text that needed ellipsis and see why it is not doing ellipsis. It's supposed to clip to the bound, right? Yeah, forgot to choose this, clip to the bound. And Yeah, okay, we're good with this. Now we're gonna create our font. We have, for example, this font, Arabic, doesn't work. For all the other, it seems like it's working pretty well. But we're gonna create our own and make it support as many, well, everything, hopefully everything. So to create a font, it's really easy. You just create a font in a font object. So we'll create, just because I'm a bit picky, I will create a blueprint folder, and I will create a font folder. And I would put my blueprint in the blueprint folder. Move there, please. And the font folder will create a source because I have a lot of TTF and OTF, and I don't want them to be mixed with real Unreal object. So on my desktop, I have, like I've shown it at the beginning of the video, I have a lot of font. This asks me if I want to create a font face. I will create it myself. So I say no to all, then it repeats it, and we're good. Now all of them are modified, so I'm just going to Control A, Control S, and now they're all saved. Now it's time to create the font. So user interface, font, UI, font. So this is more like an abstract name here. How many fonts are you going to use in your game or whatever? So, but anyway, I would just call it UI font main. Since I'm more like a technical director, I like it when there's as few font as possible. But you could have like a big title font, a paragraph font, but keep it like a very what do you use it for? You know, don't name it like Nord Deco, for example, because it won't mean anything to anyone. And this is an abstraction, so it's not meant to represent the name itself. So in font main, we can start. It's nothing now. So we're gonna create three style, the default and a bold and a thin. So this I'm not. It's there, so I'm gonna show it to you. But I'm not a fan also of having the styles here. But I see that it's there. Some people could use it. I just hope that memory-wise it's good, but I wouldn't bet on it. So I create these three. Now I need to hook the TTF I chose for this. So my font is Nord Deco, and it's we're just gonna go use the regular Nord Deco here. Nord Deco bold for this one, and a Nord Deco light for this one. So now if I save this font, I have a font that is pretty basic, probably doesn't support anything other than that. So we're gonna test it right away. So I can go set my title, use my new font, main font. Yeah, it's not starting well for our main font, right? It's not supporting Japanese. That's not good. And oh, that's West Chinese, by the way. It's Arabic, not supported. French supported, but I cannot test the accent. Let's duplicate it and add some accent just to verify that this actually can do that. I can't erase it. I can't unbind it. Let me add just another text field manually to see if the option will be locked too. Because of the preview. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that's a good catch there. Because my preview localization was on, I couldn't change the text, so I'm gonna write something in French that has accent. A, E, O, another la, and whoa. Okay, yeah, these two overlap together. Anyway, that's not our font. That's Roboto's problem. Is it our problem? Slightly, but yeah. So it's there. Let's keep it like this. I should have a text with accents in there. I will need it anyway for later. So this font is doing pretty poorly, as you can see. If I change the languages to anything other than a Latin language or European language, it's just failing. Russia is also failing. So what we need to do now is we're going to learn about the font fallback. Font fallback is the safety net, the secondary font, the last hope that you can to grow a character. So you can just create a font and add like Noto, for example. Noto is supposed to be a super good catch-all font, and you can save this. And now if I go back and play again with the, you see that this one already worked. China is still not working. Well, Noto, okay, this Noto is not doing very well. Well, did it improve this one though? Russia was not even sure if Russia was working. Yeah, or Russian was already working. So this doesn't help us in any case, right? Let's add a font Noto again with some more meat in it. Japan, GP, medium. At least the Japanese font supports obviously much more character, the Chinese characters also. So if I go to Japanese now, I will see my Japanese characters. If I go in Korean, I don't get to see them because the Noto Japanese font doesn't have them. China should be not too bad. It's missing some here. And this one also. Oh, this one doesn't miss it. So it's interesting. You can see it's it's really two different glyph here. It's a different Unicode. So this is good, I suppose. You should be happy. But then, hey, I want Korean also. So this is where I would suggest not using font fallback, but yeah, really add sub font family for good support. So the way it works, let's say you want to draw a specific glyph, a letter. It will go through the sub font family first. And the sub font family is basically a character range from this Unicode number to this Unicode number. If it's within this boundary, use the font. Oh, I forgot to talk about something for the fallback. You can actually have more than two, right? And if you're bold, you might not want to always redirect to the same one here. So Unreal it's not super well documented, but if you name these guy here default, just to showcase the problem here, I'm gonna go back here and choose one would be bold, the title would be bold, the content would be light, this one would be just default. So I get all these fonts, but then if I use let's use Noto again, GP, and it would be the medium one, I say. Now if it looks good, but in Japanese I go there, but all of them look the same, right? Except this one, because the glyph were in the Noto font, so you will be good. But these two look exactly the same. So it said ZY here. Interesting. Okay, so why? It's because, well, it's all fallbacking to this one. So you will want to have medium, and you will also want to have light. So GP light. And the way Unreal treats this is that now if I just do light like this and I go, it actually doesn't do anything. But if the name match, if the name that you're given here, which is light, is exactly light here, it's gonna map. It's gonna become the light version. Was this light? Light, and light. And this one default. And the way to do this normally is to just use this menu here. You can add it normally. So it's implied that having the same name will make you use the right one. So you have the GP bowl here, and you can save this. So bold will you redirect to bold, light will redirect to light, default will, because they have the same name. If you're not using the same name, there's some sort of recipe that will like look at the font name to redirect to the right one. But just use the same names. Really, there's nothing, you won't lose anything here. So the font, does it so you see the light font here. I needed to switch, by the way, so I didn't notice that, but you needed to switch back to this language to see the difference. So you see that light and bold actually gets applied properly now because I've named them there. Okay, I'm gonna just erase this again and jump back to the subfont family. So subfont family is basically not the fallback, it's actually on the forefront of the priority. It will actually look first here, and if it doesn't match, it's going to use default font, and if it doesn't match, it's going to use the fallback font. The idea behind this is but sometimes you need multiple font. In our case, we needed it, right? We have Japanese, which was able to support some glyph, but it didn't support Korean, it didn't support completely simplified Chinese, so we needed another fallback font to do that. So the system that is in place allows to just specify the range and the font. So indirectly we're saying, like in Japanese, use this font. But the reason why we have to do this is that since this is as the utmost priority, right? This Noto font as A, B, C, D, E, F, G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So if it's more important, you will also get the A, B, C, D, E, F, G of Noto, which is not what you want. You want your artistic looking font for your Latin letters, and then you want another font when your artistic font doesn't support it. You want to switch to another font. So that's why we specify a range of glyph. This specified range of glyph is meant to say, okay, my main font doesn't support this, so use this one instead. And now if I add a character range, let's say we do support Korean now, we're gonna add a character range, and it's a bit complicated, it's a bit intimidating. You will see a bunch of choices here, and if you look into it, you will see that there is no Korean. There's no like Korean here. If you know a bit about Korean, you will see that it's Hangul, the alphabet. So you will say, oh, it's probably these one that you need to choose. And this is where it becomes a bit more tricky. And in order to understand the Unicode, I would say one of the strongest font I know about is the Unicode Unicode font, which is a very big 22 megabyte font. And if you Google this one, Unicode font, you will see other fonts like that. And you see Arial Unicode MS is a very, very good font that a lot of people use indirectly to actually display as many characters as possible. And in this Wikipedia page, you can actually see these names here, basically C1, Latin 1 supplement, etc. If you go back to Unreal, you will see these names, the same one again. These are the same choices that you can do. So these are Unicode blocks that it's not just made up names from Unreal, it's really something that exists here. So this page allows you to see, at least you can see that Unicode supports all the basic Latin range, the basic Latin supplement also, extended A, not totally B, and it gives you an idea of what you should be supporting for your game. And after this, if you're familiar also with this, you see this name it's called a composite font. And a composite font, if you're familiar with Windows and WPF, you will see that this concept actually exists on their end. It's you can Google a font family class, and a font family class is basically what we're doing here, but in the context of WPF. And if you go and see the code, for example, you will see again the same Unicode range. And this is basically the syntax of code that you see here is exactly what we're doing here in the sub font. We are specifying a range and which font we want to use. And if we look a bit more, you see that we can specify a range. We can also specify a culture. And then if you match both, you use this font. And this one doesn't have a language. So if you are in this range, just use this. And if you're not, basically you use the default font. So this is essentially what you see here is what we're doing in Unreal in a much more clean UX way. Now, if you continue this page, you see that some Windows font already are supporting as many glyphs as possible. They already exist, and it's a good reference for you if you want to go nuts and support everything. For example, this one is the one that uses Arial. It's called the Global Sans Serif composite font. And if you Google this guy, you will see that some Good Samaritan showed the source of this file. It's big, it's intimidating, but if you want to go crazy and support everything, you can actually use this file as a reference. So you will see this is all the ranges, and now you see simplified Chinese, these range of glyph. Use in this culture, use these fonts, and actually it's a bit more powerful than Unreal in that you can specify two fonts, like this one and then this one if it doesn't catch it, and all the others use this one. So we don't really see the comments very well, but you can actually now see that Hangul here use the Batang font, which is basically Korean. And okay, so basically in previous production, and today I decided to clean it up quite a bit. So I did make a good Excel file just to keep me sane about what should I support. It's done very quickly using this source file here. I'm basically looking into it, see, oh, it needs the identification, so I'm doing it. And this is basically the range of glyph that you need to support for this language. And you will see that Han unification is definitely not a language, but it's a topic that we will talk about soon. So for now, I'm going to start by supporting Korean, Japanese, Arabic, Cyrillic, and I don't have Thai actually, so let's just support Korean and Japanese and for now, and then later we will see another issue that will arise about it. So very quickly, I'm gonna just do it one as an example. So we have Korean here. Let's not use culture yet, and we can choose them, but it's a bit long. I noticed that if you just copy paste the glyph, the ID in this guy, it actually supports it super well. It supports it right away, and if it there, and it actually put the name right away as soon as you got it. So we'll need not sure if there's a better, faster way of doing this, but this is how I did it today. So it's a bit tedious, but hopefully you just need to do it once and you don't need to touch this ever again in your life. So another character range. So what this will do is that if the glyph that we're trying to display is within this range, it's gonna go and use this font. And we already have a font. It's we have the Noto Korean. We have one medium, and then I can use this little add font override to add the other one. Name it default right away. You can add bold, you can add light, and we just need Noto KR. That was bold. Noto KR light. And this is the same thing, so bold will map to bold here, light will light, and default will map to default. And if we are within this range of glyph, I forgot one, right? I forgot this one, so I'm gonna add another one. And this one. Now we have all, this one went custom because maybe the range that Unreal defined is slightly different. So now I don't have a font fallback family here, but if I go back into the game and I change language, because apparently this resets properly. So Japanese not working, Korean is working. Because it's being intercepted by this, which we map to this with the proper bold and light here. So now I'm gonna fast forward this video and I will add, like in my document I've shown, I'm gonna add Japanese and Arabic and the Russian font. So I will stop talking and let's go super quickly. Okay, so now I added the Korean subfont, the Japanese subfont, the Arabic subfont, and the Cyrillic subfont, all redirecting to their proper font and with proper style. Now if I save this and go back into Unreal, you will see that I need to change it to Japanese, and you will see that it works for the most part. I already spoiled what I'm going to talk about soon. So Japanese though is missing, so my range was not good, or what's wrong there? And if I go Korean, it still works. Russian, okay. And China, well, I didn't add China traditional and China simplified. And this is where yes, just to mention something here. Let's say I'm in Russian here. Can I copy any text in Russian? And I just want to start going a bit crazy about this. So I'm going to start copying text to do a text field that has multiple languages at the same time. And just to showcase the font scaling idea. So I'm going to have this and this. Let's say for now and fill it, and it's not wrapping. To bound and wrapping auto wrap. No, but much better at this time. So the idea between these, why I'm adding all these at the same time, is that it's possible that in a chat or via text that are inputted by a player, that you might be playing in English, but you will see other languages being displayed. So you need to support all these fonts. And that's why basically we're doing all this crazy work here. And one of the issues that might arise is that the text might not fit. Let's say you have a different font, so that doesn't mean that visually speaking, they will look the same. So in this case, the Korean font here is okay, but it doesn't fit like it doesn't look very thin. You still have the possibility here to add a scaling factor here, and with the scaling factor you can make it make some slight adjustment to make the text feels more like it belongs into the text field. If I go back here and I change the language to Korean again, now it doesn't matter anymore, so I can go back to none. And see, the text is slightly smaller. You can fine-tune it so it gets aligned better within your text, because if you have multiple font displayed in one text field, this property is really necessary to make them fit or feel like they belong together. I'm gonna make it back to one because I don't like someone else, a real UI artist will do it for me. So now the big topic here, the one that the only feature we didn't talk about is that culture here. Okay, So as you can see, when we play in Japanese, there are some characters are missing. They're all shared in one big Unicode block. It's Han. Now, if I go back to the documentation that we were looking at in Unicode font, you will see that for when it comes to Chinese, there is this little keyword that comes into play. It's called a Han unification. There's 20,000 glyph here. And Han unification is an effort from all the East Asian languages to like agree on the Unicode and what is that and what is what. So basically they all agree that this glyph means that. So everyone shares the same Unicode. So Japanese will use this Unicode. Chinese, simplified, traditional Chinese will also use the same one. But there's a little hiccup here. Is that they agree on the Unicode number. They don't necessarily agree on how it looks like. So here you can see Chinese simplified, Chinese traditional, Hong Kong, Japanese, Korean, and some glyph ID here. And you can see that they look similar, but they're not really. This one has a horizontal line. Now this one is not. Some of them are a bit different, but they're always a bit different. The way to explain it is that they explain it very well. It's as if you draw an A like this in when it doesn't feel like it belongs. And so what does that mean for you is we need to, when we know that we want to display this specific Unicode, I cannot add it in Korean because it's gonna hijack it and everyone will get this version of the glyph. This is where the culture becomes important. So you will need to basically have an Han unification sub-font family in which you say, well, if I play the game with the Chinese simplified, I will use these glyphs as a priority. Like I don't want to see the Japanese version of the glyph. I want to see this version of the glyph. And this is the reason why the Unicode range was not enough. That's why they needed to add the other range here. So, and I cannot add it here because if I had KO here, it basically means that I will not be able to display Korean anymore in a text field like this. Right now, I'm able to write in Latin and see Korean and then see Chinese, but I don't see it, but I'm able to. That's the point. Even if I'm in non, for example, I can still see it. If I go here and type it's KO, I'm not sure, let me see again if it's, yeah, KO. If I type in KO here for the culture Korean and then I decide to save, since now I'm not in Korea and I need to change it again, Arabic, none. So since I'm not in Korea right now, my culture is not Korean, I cannot see the Korean glyph. So that you need to make a distinction between the glyph that you're absolutely sure that this font will cover 100% of the time, and then for the Han unification case, you need to take the culture into account to display the proper glyph. So what I would suggest here, again, is to add all the East Asian languages and add a culture to them. And then have the same range of glyph. If I go back to the page I created here with my game localization, that's why I created the Han unification range of glyph. It's extremely big. It's very it's gonna do a lot of work to do it 4 times, but you do it. You say this range of glyphs with that culture, and then when you are from some playing for mainland China, you will at least get the right version of the glyph. Now I'm gonna start doing one for Japanese, for example. So I will call it Japanese and Han unification. And in there, so if I need to refresh my memory again, it's GA. GA is the region name. If you have more granularity, you can actually add the country code after that. So with in Japanese, I will add all the Han unification characters, and after this I will be able to display, I will see the symbol from the Japanese font. So that's why I have a Japanese Noto, a Korean Noto, a traditional Chinese Noto, and a simplified Chinese Noto, because there are slight differences in the same glyph. You cannot merge them all together. This is why you cannot have one big TTF. So without further ado, I'm gonna start adding these range of glyph. The biggest one is really the one that has so many characters, the CGK unified. So I'm gonna just try this one, and hopefully this one is enough to actually cover the Japanese symbols. And I'm gonna add the Noto GP regular, add this default, and add bold and light here. So for now, if I save this, it's a Han unification. It's another sub font for Japanese, but that will only kick in if you have if you are in Japan. Now let's test it here, and if I compile this, I change language, Arabic, and now Japanese, is it going to be enough to see? As you can see, it's not enough. We need the more range of glyph to support these glyph here. One way of actually debugging what glyph is it and in which range of Unicode it is to actually, well, use Unreal again. You can come here. I had this Japanese version in the first glyph, for example. I can actually copy it, paste as text, take the first glyph, and in the font editor, if I go back here, you can actually have the glyph itself here. You paste it, you move elsewhere, you see it's in the 7.2 font. So well, I made a mistake, that's why it's there. So I didn't specify bold and light there, so you can, that font was 32,000. It's within this. It's just that bold was none and light was none. So I think we're good. So Noto GP bold and Noto GP light will do the trick. Can save it, change the language, come back. It seems I need to write GAJP to actually make this work. Not just the language, but you need the culture for it to kick in. I'm not sure what's going on here. The culture is the same. Yet we don't see the result. Okay, I will try something. Region, and make my editor Japanese. I think this is gonna fix it. And well, it fixed it, right? Okay. it fixes it. It's weird. Let's continue in this. Let's see if GA was enough, or it needed the country. Did it need the country? Okay, so JA or JP was actually fine, but you need to change the language of your editor for this to properly kick in. That makes this video a bit more complicated now, but understandable. So in order to continue with this, I'm gonna switch back to English, and I will add the simplified Chinese, traditional Chinese. I will not add Korean because I know that they don't use actually an unification. But I will add it in the same way that I did for Japan. And I will come back later and test it all with you. So during that quick setup, I cheated just for to be completely transparent. I went into Google and downloaded the Noto for simplified Chinese, and also downloaded the Noto for traditional Chinese because it wasn't in the folder, so I imported them in my font source folder. I created the Korean unification, a simplified Chinese unification, and a traditional Chinese unification. And as you can see, I chose to not put a culture on this one. So traditional Chinese, so Noto-san traditional Chinese will win if you play in English and you want to display a hand unification character. It's going to use Noto from traditional Chinese. It could be Japanese. It's basically up to your production. But like I said, this issue will really happen if you're playing in the language outside of the region, and then you see a glyph of that region. So it's rare, but if you want to be perfect, then I'm afraid there's no solution for this one. So I will save this, and now it's a bit difficult to test. As we saw earlier, I need to switch languages. So doing switching to Japanese here is okay. So I see the glyph here, but do I see the right version of the glyph? That's the real question here, because these are hand unification symbol, but since this editor here doesn't work, and it doesn't actually use the culture here, I should be, like, it is all theoretical, I should be seeing the traditional Chinese hand unification symbol and not the actual Japanese hand symbol. So to test this theory, and I hope I'm right here, I'm gonna go back to the page I have open about the hand unification symbol and get some of these symbols in there. The one, hopefully one that has a difference between Japanese and traditional Chinese. So this one seems to be a good candidate here. I'm gonna use this one. I'm gonna paste it in my special text field, the one that is supposed to be used for text. So, and we're gonna keep a close eye on this one. And what we are aiming to see is that when I switch from my editor, my Unreal editor, from English, which is using traditional Chinese, and I switch my editor to Japanese, the glyph will change its appearance. So you will see that actually our setup works, and then we will be done with this. I have nothing more to add. So in order to change the text, I need to go in none. It's not the first time I make this mistake. I will add this glyph. Well, let's just jump a bunch of lines and add the glyph here. The text is not big enough. make it 400 now. All right. So this glyph here, there's a little horizontal line on it, and I already forgot if it's good or not. Japanese and tradition, it's like a squarish. We should be squarish, and this one is like it's an angle. So are we seeing a squarish version? No, we are seeing the angle here. Good news, because we are in English, so we see traditional Chinese version. Now I will switch to Japanese, and I will also see this glyph because the editor is not responding properly. But when I open this region settings, and I will make this window on the side here, and I will switch my editor language to Japanese, and you see a bit of everything a bit changed, right? But anyway, we saw that clearly this glyph is the one you want to see when you are in Japanese. So it works. You don't actually need to bother with the region name for Korean and Japanese, but for China it's very important. If when with simplified Chinese, you really want to use this one. I could try simplified Chinese too to see if it actually does work. So it's too difficult at this point. I'm gonna switch back to English here. Good. And I will try simplified Chinese as this one. And you see that it has no impact on this renegade glyph here. And in simplified Chinese, this glyph, if it is looking different, no, it looks like, well, it is also a bit different. That it's gonna get this little line will change to be like oblique. So same thing again. If I go and change the editor language to simplified Chinese, you will get this little line here will get like this. And let's try this just to confirm that it will work. Chinese. Oh yeah, it's there. And you want simplified Chinese, and let's keep an eye out here when clicking on it. And yeah, you get the little line here. So these little details are they might not look important to you, but they make a difference. So to summarize, the an unification to me is the only reason why you will use this region setup here. Let me put this back to English before I forget how to do it. All right, good. And for and all this complexity that we just talked about here is only in the situation that you see languages or actually an alphabet from another language from your main language, and this rarely happens. It's very rare, but in games it happens to more and more when you can meet people that can name their things, and they will add glyphs from their countries, and you will have to display them in English. So, and the chat window, obviously someone who can chat. One of the things that I didn't talk about is the Arabic. I'm very happy about what I see about Arabic, but if I'm a bit surprised that it does it right aligned now. It's not what I expected it to happen. I would have expected me to have to manually say that this text will flip to the right when I am in a right to left language. But so this text field, for example, didn't flip. So there's this whole, like, if I mix Arabic and English Is it going to go right to left? Is it the first symbol? This question I don't know. I don't have any answer about this right now. But this system, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the best I've seen. If you have time to put a lot of love in this setup, you can come and help me with my style, this sheet here, to really nail down what is used or not. For example, I know enclosed it's just this very weird symbol where a number is within a boundary. I kind of feel that no localization or translator will ever use this, but then I have to give the benefit of the doubt and still add it as a possibility here. But it's another thing that I want to add also is that memory usage can be very high, and it's borderline not legal, but I will suggest using font tool to trim the extra glyph. Well, font tool, it's a Python code that can actually have the ability of trimming a TTF to its bare bone. So why am I saying this is that Noto Korean or Noto Japanese and Noto traditional Chinese, they all have the Cyrillic alphabet in it. They all have the Latin alphabet in it. But it's with this setup, it's impossible for it to use this glyph. So I know it's not very legal what I'm suggesting, but I would say these TTF, you run the Python script, you actually use this range here that you've defined, and you trim all the extra fat from the TTF to make them smaller. They will load more quickly. They will probably have a smaller memory footprint if you do that. But the trade-off is that it might not be legal. So it will be, I'm not sure, maybe Unreal does it under the hood by calculating it. It would be a very good game. To me, I would sleep much more easily if I knew that all this unusable glyph are trimmed out of a TTF, because otherwise it's just a waste of memory, and it makes me feel bad in general. So without further ado, again, I'd like to stress out that if you are interested in localization, please comment on this style sheet. I will add it to my under the descriptions. And that's all I have to say about the font in Unreal Editor. I hope you enjoyed this video, and have a nice day.